If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then this, the UK Property Market Stat Show, is for you. My name is Chris Watkin, and every single week I come to you with this UK Property Market Stat Show, and I have a special guest. And this week's guest is Alice Bullard. We'll come to Alice in a second. She's the boss lady of Nested, who are a big estate agent in the UK, and they're growing all the time. But we'll come back to her in a second. Why is this meeting? Why is this this show important? Well, everyone follows the property market, and we hang on the land registry figures, we hang on the Halifax and you know other data sources. But I don't know if you're aware, ladies and gentlemen, but the Halifax and nationwide stats are looking at sales that took place 2-3 months ago. The land registry is looking at sales that completed 2 or 3 months ago, but were actually agreed 6, 7, 8 months ago. We're looking at stats from last week. And by looking at the stats from last week, we know what's going to happen to those indices months and months in advance. So if you like your property indices, you like your property market and what's happening, then this, the UK Property Market Stat Show, is for you. This week, we are on week 14 of 2024, which is Monday, the 1st of April, all the way through to Sunday, the 7th of April. And as I said, is week 14. And we are going to be comparing this week's week 14 to other week 14s and other years to dates as well. This week, as I said, I'm joined by Alice Bullard, who's boss lady of Nested. Now, Alice, you have been in the estate agency a long time. You joined at the bottom level and you've risen through the ranks. You are a little star, and this is the first time that you are on the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for having me. Yes, first time. Hopefully I'll be asked back again in the future.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, the show is normally split into 2 parts. The first part is looking at the UK property market, where we'll have lots of stats. And then the second half, we look at a town or a city's local property market. This week, it's on the beautiful town of Folkestone. Now, if you're not in Folkestone, you might not find that of interest, but we're going to be using a piece of software which actually can help estate agents prove their worth and prove higher fees. The data itself comes from a firm called 20EA, and we're using their insights platform. And if you are an estate agent and you're trying to prove that you need higher fees, then do check out the Folkestone report, because you can actually have this platform for yourself. There is a freemium version that you can have for free, which gives you a limited amount of data, and then if you cross their hands with shekels, you can have it. I know that I'm not going to tell what the price is, because they give this platform to me for free, which allows me to give you this information for free. And if you want this data yourself, then you can go to them, have a free version, which is a light version, or you can pay them some shekels and you can have the same data for your town, which I'm going to show you. And as I said, if you're an estate agent, then it shows you that who's selling the most. It's like a Rightmove Plus on steroids, with a couple of Saturn 5s strapped to it with lasers and glitter balls. It is just the dog's dangles. But anyway, I must stress to you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not being paid by 20EA for the platform, but I'm just an absolute massive fanboy. But anyway, less of that. Let's dive in. Are you ready, Alice? First time.
I'm ready.
Yourself in, babes. We are going to go live, and we're going to start looking at some stataroonies. So you should be able to see the graphs here on the screen here. And in terms of the listings, we always start with the listings. This week, 30,312. To give you an idea, last week it was 38,000. The week before, 37,900. And the week before that, 37,000. So if you actually look on this graph here, the white line shows the number of listings that have come onto the market each week from week 1, and comparing different weeks from from 2017, 18 or 19 and 23. And the reason we've not picked those other the other years in between, is that they were crazy years and not whatever you call a normal market. The average price of a property coming on the market is £449,000. So, and year to date, 476,586 properties have come onto the market compared to the averages that you can see on the screen here. So immediately, what's screaming at me, let's run for the hills, panic, panic stations, doom-mongers alert. Oh my God, listings have fallen off. What's happening? What's happening, Alice? Talk to me.
I know. A 20% drop on last week. It looks like. I think the fact remains it's still around 8.3% higher than this time in 2023. So
Yes.
there's a slight decline on the number from last week. I think around 9%. But as you said, that this is to be expected. You called it last week, Chris. You said don't be surprised if there's a dip, and that's exactly what's happened here. I think most importantly as well. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the 1 week where all schools are closed and people are on holiday across the whole of the UK. I think someone might correct me on that, but I know that it differs from region to region, but I'm pretty sure that this is the 1 week where pretty much everyone is off.
Yeah,
So
you're absolutely right. Some schools have it 1 week and then that's last week, and then some do this and next, but it's always this one. And again, let's just have a quick look at the old Graph-a-Roonies. Let's just pull that up again. Hold on. Yeah, here you go. Anyway, it looks like I know what I'm talking about. Look at the pretty dips.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you match Easters, those are the Easters. But have a look at them all. They dip back up and then they dip back down. So in 23, that was Easter. Then she went, and then we have May bank holidays. That affects it. Yeah. And then we also have a little bit of we had a dip in 23 because we had the coronation, which was around that sort of time as well. But we are in, for the next 8 or 9 weeks, we are in a roller coaster situation. Roller coaster. Okay. We are in a roller coaster situation with regard to listings and also sales, and we'll come to that in a second.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be too worried about the fact that there are fewer listings this week. It's just that is just the market that we are in. We'll come and have a look at the average price in a second because we've got some graphs on that. But as I said, just to give you an idea, you're absolutely right. We are just over 8% more than last year, and we are 8.6% ahead of the more normal years of 17, 18, or 19, where the average was 438,936. Any more else on listings before we go and look at price reductions?
No, just to echo what you said, Chris. It's going to be a bumpy ride over the next couple of months, I think, in terms of that roller coaster, as you mentioned, but nothing more to add. Good stuff.
Right, let's go and have a look at price reductions. And this week, our price reductions, we are on 17,390 compared to an average. Just to give you an idea, the running long-term average is 12,382. But again, a lot of that is affected by the fact is that in 2020, we were really in lockdown at that time. Nothing was happening. The market hadn't opened up yet. That was early May, if memory serves me well. So therefore, not much was being reduced. In fact, nothing was really happening at all. Just to give you an idea, this shows that 1 in 8.5 houses per month is being reduced. Do you think that's enough at the moment in this market?
Personally, no. I think that we should hope to see that number increase over the next couple of weeks. I think we can come on to our thoughts about sales in a moment, but I think there's a window coming up here to get these properties sold before we hit the summer market. And then, let's be honest, most likely later on in the year, there could be an election coming up. So I think really advice to agents is that stock that you've got on the market, be really thinking about what the right price is for that moving forward and whether that adjustment needs to be made. And I think we're coming up now to that period where change absolutely has to happen here.
Indeed. What is particularly interested, I'm just pulling up the national stats here, on that in terms of price reductions nationally, we are at 44.6. So if you added up all the listings since the 1st of January, which is, as I said, around the 480 mark, and you actually, the number of price changes is 216,000, which means that's a ratio of 44.65%. Now, not all of those new instructions have been reduced, but as a ratio, that is quite high. And the thing that really does scare me, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Out of all the properties that have left estate agents' books since the 1st of January, left the books, and you can only leave an estate agent's books if you either exchange or withdraw. 50.89, so that's 50.89 or 50.9% have exchanged, whilst 49.1 have withdrawn. So 1 in 2 houses that have left estate agents' books, okay, some of those might have gone to another agent. And just as a matter of interest, ladies and gentlemen, I know the old stat from years before the COVID was 6 in 10 house sales happen with the second agent. That stat is not up to date. It did go down to 1 in 13 or 14 in the crazy years of 21. I'm presently getting that information for you, and I should have that for you in the next couple of weeks. So this is a definitive. So if you are trying to tap other agents' business properties, then we'll get that stat for you and we'll report it in the show. But does it not scare you, Alice, that 1 in 2 houses that have left agents' books since the 1st of Jan, agents haven't been paid on?
Yeah. I think it is scary. I think there's probably an element of whenever the market seems to be coming back, you get those sellers that come and go, oh, right, this is the time to be making money. And I don't think that any agents that's kind of offering that advice and are pricing unrealistically and going in at that higher price, I don't think is doing right by that client. I don't think it's the case that, yes, the market's got busier, there's more access to mortgage rates. I think it's like 95% loan to value, 4th month consecutive now that they've got more products on the market. I think that the busier market that's coming back is basically just enabling what we lost at the back end of last year and back in 2023. So I think that I'm not surprised by that, unfortunately, but I would like to think that the reason for that and for those withdrawals is because of those agents that have overvalued or sellers that have wanted to try and get that higher price, and it's just not really.
Who's at fault? Is it the vendor because they're greedy, or is it the estate agent who doesn't want to lose listings because they are psychologically scarred and they want everyone to love them? I didn't get the business, but they liked me. That whole classic stuff. I mean, just to scare those guys and girls in London is that of the let's just work our sums out here. Hold on. So of the 48,800 properties that have left estate agents' books in London, so this is inner London and outer London, so it's basically everything within the M25 and a little bit of creepage overwards, is that estate agents have only been paid on 37.6% of properties, whilst 62.3% have actually withdrawn unpaid. Absolutely scary as hell. Absolutely scary. Yeah, that's awful. Right, let's get back to the Stadarunas. Here we go. Good stuff. You're doing really well, Alice. This is your first. You're doing really well. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see why I invited that on. Absolutely, little pocket rocket ship.
I haven't let you down yet, Chris.
You haven't let me down yet, and you won't either. So here we go. So gross sales. So this is our graph. And I tell you what, let's just zoom in, because again, oh my God, Alice, look at this. It's end of the world. Look at the white lines dropping. Oh, hold on a second. The dropping is less than previous years. Now, again, we've got another week to go. So let's not count our chickens just yet. But again, this is a wonderful graph to see the number of sales on a week-by-week basis and comparing it with years. And I told you that there would be a bit of a roller coaster. I mean, this is classic roller coaster stuff.
Yeah.
And notice how it drifts down. And it does that every year. And again, I'll just go through the numbers and then you can give your insight. Year to date, 323,000 gross sales. at an average asking price. So this is the asking price, not the sale agreed price. The asking price of a property when she went sold subject to contract, 364,000. And as we said, 21,235. And you can see on the graph here how that compares to other years. So just to get, again, just give you an idea of how gross sales compare. We are 9% higher than 23, and we are 6.9% higher than 17, 18, or 19. Okay, Alice, scores on the doors. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, look, again, I think your doom mongers that watch this, there's not many of them, but there are a few of them. I think are probably wondering why we're being so positive about it. But I think there is a really positive story here, is that line is not near that pink line. It's trending in that direction, but I would like to think by this time next week, when we look at the data, it's not going to get down to that point. Let's see on that. But I think that this tells still a really positive story, and I think that, again, it's reflective of the buyers that are out there in the market. There are buyers that are wanting to buy. There are more products available to them, but buyers are not stupid. They are not going to overpay on properties. And look, the number of listings that we've seen come onto the market over the last, quarter, there is some stock available for them now to go after. So yeah, I think the story is exactly the same what we've been saying for the last couple of weeks and today, Chris, where it is positive. There's buyers out there. Things are going well, but equally, you need to be pricing realistically to get yourself sold.
Indeed. Now let's move on to the average asking price of a property coming on the market. And the average asking price of a property coming on the market this week was £449,059, whilst the average asking price of a property sale agreed was 364. That doesn't mean that every property is being cut back by nearly 80 grand. That just shows that of the stuff that's coming on the market, the average price is 449, and the stuff that's actually selling is 364. If we look at the graph here, you can see that sort of trend. Just for anyone that's not watched the show before, this little, well, there's nothing little about it. This big jump here was basically what happens is in London, everyone goes on holiday in July and early August. The numbers are just like flatlined. You would actually think it was a ghost town. And then everyone comes back from their Provence and Tuscany holidays, and they whack it all on. And that is the scary effect of what London can do to the property market, because there was a big uplift in listings, but it wasn't mega compared to the UK. But the average is just shot that price up. Interestingly, the average asking price of a property sale agreed, have a look at this one, is trending upwards as well.
Yeah. You always expect the London to skew the data, and it's always an extreme version of whatever you're looking at. I think it's the one that is impacted the most by everything that's happening in the world and seasonality, etc.
Good stuff. I've always said that the percentage difference does concern me, because it should be around 16 or 17%. It's at 23, so that's a slight fly in the ointment. So, ladies and gentlemen, just be aware of that. And to answer your question, if anyone has that, why is there such a gap? Higher price properties have a lower propensity to sell. Lower price properties have a higher propensity to sell. And if you look at last week's stats, we actually showed that to you. Look back, that was week 13, and if you go and look at the graphs, we actually produced some graphs on that if that's of interest. Do remember, ladies and gentlemen, that all the graphs that you see here are available to download on YouTube. You go to the description, scroll down to the bottom, there's a little hyperlink with WeTransfer, and you can download them. You can use them on your valuations, and you can use them internally. You can use them, show them to vendors. All they ask is that you don't use them on social media because I have to hold something back for my own existing clients. My daytime job is that I write content for estate agents using local property market data. There has to be something but held back for them for social media, but I've got no issue with you using it in the house. Right, on your vowels for everyone else. Let's move on and look at residential fall-throughs. So in terms of the stats this week, we are on, what fall-throughs? So we're on 4,737. So we'll just have a look at the stat. There you go. which compared to the 7-year average of 5,299 is not bad at all. The fall through rate, and again, scares me. Look, there you go. Look at that. That was lockdown.
Yeah.
Look, 22.31%. The long-term average is 24.8. And if we put that into percentage terms, you can see here. So just again, anyone that's not watched the show before, in 2022 in the summer, she was rising in 30s. Then there was this, I don't know if you've heard, there was this budget in late 22. Something happened there.
I was screaming at the screen last week. It was a mini budget when you and Ian were wondering what it was.
That's the mini budget, ladies and gentlemen. 40% fall through rate. And just to explain what the fall through rate is, is that we take the number of sales agreed that week. So let's just say there were 1,000 sales agreed. And let's just say 250 properties that were in estate agents' pipelines fell through. It's not going to be likely any of the 1,000 because you don't fall through in the first week. It's very rare. But 250 from the sales pipeline fall through. 250 as a percentage of 1,000 is 25. Hence, a fall through rate percentage of 25%. And you can see here, that is the effect of the mini budget. Then our base level was around 20%. Then in the spring, late spring, early summer, interest rates started to hit and it had a wobble on the market. So we went up to 30%. We've been drifting down. Ignore these spikes. These are Christmas spikes because the numbers are really so low that you only need a few extra and a few less and they spike up. So ignore the spikes. But look, we are bumping along quite nicely around that 22 mark, 22, 23, that percentage. I mean, and those are the numbers as well. Any thoughts on these?
Yeah, I think so. It's gone up slightly from last week. I think it was 20% last week. It's gone up slightly to 22%. But then last week's numbers were also 20% and it's gone up to 22% too. So it's good to see it at that level. I think that's good. I would like to think with the number of buyers that are in the market to buy right now and those mortgage products and a little bit more positivity in Q2, coming into Q2 this year than there was Q2 last year, that we will see that number drop and hopefully by the end of H1, we could be seeing the number being less than 20%. But I think even if we don't, I think 20% is good. There's always going to be fall throughs, right? But I think we could be in for a little bit more positivity coming into Q2. That's just my view. Again,
ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to mention any firms, but I'm a huge, massive fan of reservation agreements. And those agents, I'm not going to mention any names. There's a few of them that do it, but your fall through rates are in single digits. And we're not talking 9 or 10%, 8 or 9. We're talking 5, 6, 7%. And it basically protects you from people being, there are always going to be the problems where, the sale falls through because there's a dodgy title. You're protected on those. But you know what? You've been there, Alice, where basically someone throws the rattle out there, perhaps saying, if I don't exchange this week, I'm pulling out.
Yeah.
And therefore, they don't want to look prats and then everyone falls out because no one wants to look silly. And a reservation agreement, you put your 2 or 3 grand in, and if you pull out and you're a prat, you're going to lose it. It's amazing why people are not prepared to lose 2 or 3 grand and be silly about it. So that's why you fall.
Yeah. Feelings get really tense towards the end of a transaction, don't they? I think if I completely agree with you, Chris, I think especially if you've got properties where they're best and finals or there's more than one buyer, I think you'll find that the buyers that in order to willing to get it over another buyer, they'll be prepared to put that down. So I agree with what you're saying, Chris.
You'll be amazed how many there are some agencies out there, top drawer estate agents, where they won't even put their house on the market without one.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea personally.
Good stuff. It does require you though, ladies and gentlemen, to learn how to sell it and get people to buy it. So therefore, my advice to you would be this. If you're an estate agency boss, don't just take it and give it to the guys and girls. Pardon me, actually get the person who's selling you the reservation agreements on how to sell it. Because it absolutely scares me to bits that out of the 18 or 17,000 estate agency firms, I mean, your firm is big enough to have trainers and develop and training departments, but That's probably the top 200 estate agents firms by size. But what about the other 14, 15,000, 18,000 estate agency firms? I challenge anyone to name me more than 9 independent estate agency trainers. There is none. I cannot find them. 9 between 15,000 estate agents is disgusting. And that's why we need regulation. We need to be, you know, just anyway, a lot of people disagree with me, but hey, my opinion. Right, let's go look at Resi net sales. And this week, our net sales level is at 16,498, which again is end of the world, doom and gloom. Okay, but we're expecting it. We're in Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect
people are off on their holidays.
Yeah, okay. We are on 254,000 net sales. That's the stuff that's got exchange and complete. And that's 104.3% of the 17, 18, and 19 years. And there's the net sales numbers there. What's your thoughts on net sales?
Yeah, I mean, look, same story. Drops to be expected. I think the one flag here is if you come back and you look right at the beginning slides and you look at the number of listings we've been experiencing in the market, then you would hope to think that would be higher on the net sales, I would say. But I think that's the point I'm trying to make with these listings that you've got on the market now. It's about giving the right advice to those sellers, because we've got a window of opportunity before summer hits, before the election starts looming, to get those in your under offer pipeline. So the best thing you can be doing right now is relaying that message to your vendors and your clients.
Absolutely spot on. Can't disagree with you at all. Okay, let's just have a quick look at some other additional charts which could be of interest to you, ladies and gentlemen. That is the correct number. I've just forgot to change 13 to 14. Apologies on that one. So price changes as a percentage of listings, 57. We gave the national year-to-date figure earlier on. It was a bit more. And gross sales as a percentage, 70.05. So that's just an idea of that we're agreeing sales on 7 in 10. Although when it actually comes through to completion, exchange and completion, at the moment we're running at around 50%. Anything you want to add on this?
No, nothing to what I've already mentioned in previous slides.
Good stuff. Right then. So pound per square foot. Interesting, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard this before, if you look at the pound per square foot figure on sale agreed, it will match the land registry with a 98% accuracy rate, albeit in 5 months' time. So therefore, if you track the sale agreed, the orange line, if you mentally move that orange line to the right, it matches the exchange and completions figures, which is the land registry figures. Okay. And if you and again, I'm going to get really geeky now. If you index them back to 100 from Jan 19, the accuracy rate, the correlation rate is at 98%, ladies and gentlemen. So therefore, what does this mean? If you track the sole subject to contract pound per square foot figure and then look at the percentage changes, you will be able to tell what's going to happen to the land registry figures 5 months in advance. And if you look, everyone's been saying house prices dropped a bit. Yeah, because they dropped a bit there. And now, because we're looking at the orange figure, next month, they're going up. And the month afterwards, they're going up. And then they're going to level. That's what's going to happen to the land registry figures, ladies and gentlemen. So we can tell the bottom of the market in real time. We can tell the top of the market in real time. And by doing that, this is the power of data, ladies and gentlemen, is that you can become the guru of the property market. I would certainly recommend, and it's not out for a couple of weeks, but there is a survey that's been done by 800 estate agents and 2,000 homeowners by Simon Ledbetter called The Voice of the Agent. And it's scary how estate agents think homeowners get their information. They think it's all from newspapers and web. They don't take any notice of that. But you need to create local content on your local property market using stats, which will enable you to become the local property expert. and get that information out there, get it on social media, and you'll win. And the art is this: if you're in Aberystwyth, then join Aberystwyth Facebook groups, because Aberystwyth homeowners live in Aberystwyth, and the only people that join Aberystwyth Facebook groups are people from Aberystwyth. Post, share, and post local property market updates about Aberystwyth in Aberystwyth Facebook groups. No, come back to me, my estate agent, I'm brilliant. None of that. Just give great information, and people go, wow, this guy or girl knows what she's talking about. And then you're one of the 3 agents that get called out for the valuation.
I think knowing your stats as well about your local market will give you the confidence to offer the right advice. Like, if you know all of these stats for your local areas, you will come to the right conclusion as to what is right for your sellers in terms of their marketing strategy. So I think that's an important point as well.
And they will ask you out, because if you actually look at the Property Academy, when they do their survey of 10,000 homeowners, 36% of people want an estate agent who has good local property market knowledge. It's one of the main, the biggest one is that agent I instinctively trusted. But 30, well, it's not 3 in 10, nearly 4 in 10 homeowners are looking for an estate agent who knows the local property market. How do you prove that? By talking about it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Sorry, I'll get off my horse. Right. Okay. That's a few national graphs before we move on and go and look at Folkestone. So this is the number of properties for sale at the end of each month, and the yellow lines are all of the Marches, just for comparison point of view. So therefore, in March 24, there were an average of 654,913 properties for sale, compared to 585 in March 23. And you can see all the yellows or Marches. I mean, does that surprise you, Alice?
It doesn't surprise me from what we've been talking about through the show, right? Is that it's been a really busy market in terms of listing. Q1 has been so busy in terms of number of listings coming onto the market. I think there is just shy of 12% more. Yeah. Is that right? You're the guy that can do probably the math to the that sounds about right. Decimal point. Yeah. About 12% more. So yeah, a lot of stock there for buyers to be choosing between, which again was why it comes down to, the property market right now is still very price sensitive. There's more stock for them to choose from. There is more stock, but I mean, here's a question: how many properties do you think were on the market in March 2008? Oh, a lot more, I'd say. Would be a lot more. How many, Chris? Do you know? 1.4 million. That's a high number. So, I mean, I say most weeks, but if you're an agent, the best way to judge the reason house prices came down was there was too much supply in 2008 and not enough demand, because banks are holding back lending money. Yep. Okay, everyone dumped their house on the market because they panicked. Okay, and they needed to get their payments down. So you had too much supply, not enough demand, too much. That creates price reductions because too much supply, not enough demand. Okay. Here, you've got to keep an eye on this, ladies and gentlemen, because and you can do this locally. And my advice would be as follows. And I'll just quickly go through this for anyone that has not watched it. Whatever your search criteria. So let's say, Grantham. Look at do a Grantham search on Rightmove. How many prices are for sale? Write that number down. Number 2, go onto the filters and add sold subject to contracts. Okay. And the difference between the two is the sold number. So if there's 500 houses for sale, and then you click on agreed, properties agreed, that takes up to 700. That means there's 200 left. That was so there's 500 for sale and 200 sold subject to contract. Okay. Number one, track those numbers and also track the ratio of the two. That will tell you weeks and months in advance what's happening to the property market. And remembering, though, ladies and gentlemen, that it normally goes up, then down, up, then down, up, then down. And look at this. There's
and it always go, up. So let's do right. So this is March, but she starts off in January, stock goes up, then stock goes down. Stock goes up, stock goes down. Ignore 21 because that's a weird year. Look, up and down, up and down. That's the levels you want to be going at. It's long-term trends. Okay.
Yeah.
Keeps right. Anything on this before we go and look at the final graph?
No, great summary, Chris.
Number of properties that are for sale in estate agents' pipelines at the end of March. And the white lines and the unit numbers, this is the number of properties that are in estate agents' pipelines. And we're just comparing each March to give a level playing field. I mean, to have a situation where you have 20% more properties for sale, 20% more properties in estate agents' pipeline compared to 17 and 18 and 19. I think that's pretty good. Before anyone says that's because sales are taking longer, okay, they're taking 17 to 19 weeks at the moment. They were taking 17 to 19 weeks in 17, 18 or 19. Okay, see, that's almost irrelevant. What's your thoughts on this?
Just a positive picture, I think, Chris. That's all I can really say about it.
Not the message we need to be doing. We need to be doing more doom-mongery stuff because that's what sells newspapers.
That's what gets the people talking.
I'm not joking. Bad news sells newspapers. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's your job. If only you had this thing called social media and you could join local Facebook groups, you don't have to spend any money. You post as you, not as your agent. See, post about what's happening in the local property market. I mean, as I said, I ghostwrite articles, and if there's no if it's all good news or even anything half good news, they won't publish it. If you do a end of the world stuff, they're on it like tramp on chips. Bad news stuff.
I naturally lean on the positive side in life on most things. So that's just me. So sorry, maybe I'm not going to be your doom monger person coming onto this show.
Shame. Such a loss. Right. Okay. I'm going to come back to you at the end when we with your conclusions. But what I'd like us to do now is let us go and have a look at the Folkestone property market. So here we go. So, Alice, this is your first show, so good luck on this one because we're going to be having a look using the data from 20EA Insights platform. So we're just going to pull that up here. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, 20EA is the firm. The product is Insights. They do have other products that they do. You're not to mention my name. I don't get any kickbacks. I just use the platform and share it with you beautiful people in estate and letting agency land. Lots and lots of gorgeous stuff in here. And as I said, we're going to be looking at Folkestone. So let's dive in and have a look. So for the purposes of Folkestone, just so everyone is aware, postcode districts we're using is CT 18, 19 and 20. So that is the coastal town itself, plus the villages that are behind them as well. We're just going to, just jump in, drive in anytime if you want to see anything, and I'll also give you an opportunity to say something as well, okay? Right. So we're going to start off with new instructions, ladies and gentlemen, and let us just have a look. So I told you this was good because this is Rightmove Plus on steroids. Because look, we're going back to 2019, okay? So let us have a look at new instruction levels from Miles and Bar. And you can quite clearly see here that their market share has been hovering around the 13 or 14%, and that has been pretty stable. The average price of a property that's come on the market in those 5 and a bit years is 304,000. So if we look at Miles and Bar, 301, saying that they're probably middle of the road. We will look at the upper quartile in a second. We then go and look at Burnap and Able. Okay, let's just see what they're doing. And again, they seem to be pretty stable around that 12 or 13% mark. Isn't it interesting that if you just look here, Alice, that there are there's like two main players that are slugging it out with 12 or 13%, and then you've got two middle, so this is the chat. This is the Premiership, And this is the Champions League. We've got Wards and Reeds Range. Let's just see what Wards are doing. 281, so they're obviously lower to middle market, and Reeds Range 293, again lower to middle market. But again, very looks like Wards is slightly drifting down there, but who knows? They might have had some new colleagues in the office. Slight growth there. Well done, Wards. Let's go to Andrew and Co. They're at 280. And again, not seeing much growth here. Isn't it interesting here that there's no one really? There's almost like an order, and no agents pulling or again, we'll just keep going. Brown, again, pretty static. You know, the art here, ladies and gentlemen, just take a step back and just say, where's the general trend on that line? Okay, it's always going to be a bit spiky. Lane or Lang Bennett, again, you know, at these lower numbers, we're going to have a lot of spikiness, but again, they're still around that level.
They've got a high average property price, though.
Well
Chris.
Spotted there. Good stuff. You passed your test. Well done. Martin and Co, the franchise. Hunters, they're also a franchise. So again, looks like they had a big spike there, which doesn't make that so attractive, but fundamentally, they're doing all right. Let's go and look at some others. H. Wald, I don't think you haven't got any people in Folkestone, have you?
We're launching next month in Folkestone. So this is really,
ladies and gentlemen,
this is exciting for me.
This is that's I didn't know that. There you go.
Yeah,
I look at the map, people make suggestions, I look at maps and I think we'll go there. Yeah. There you go. Everyone's friends, purple bricks, not unexpected, a slight drift down, but ladies and gentlemen, purple bricks' market share for the last 3 or 4 months has gone in a upward direction, ladies and gentlemen. So they're not dead and buried yet. So keep an eye on them, okay? Clive Emson Auctioneers, You Move. Oh, well done, You Move. Now that's the first growth I've seen. Well done, You Move.
Yeah.
The Good Estate Agent, Lawrence and Co, Map Estates, Hart.
I'm surprised, such a big agent. They must have had an office closure or something, and they've maybe an office in a nearby town is still taking on the odd bit of stock.
They've done an awful lot of that. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice that there is on this that there is no number 5 there. That's because I've taken HomeWise out. Most of you will know HomeWise. There'll be one agent in the town who relists their properties on lifetime mortgages, which means the price comes down by 20-30%. They relist it using the same photographs quite often and just saying you can buy this with a lifetime mortgage, but the asking price is a lot less. So I've removed those because they do. It's just a repeat of the stats. Interestingly, let's just have a quick look at the stock on the market in Folkestone. And again, I want to look at the whole month because it has a much better playing field. But isn't this interesting that in Folkestone, in March 2019, 790 properties for sale, then 714 in March 20, 645 in 21, 464 in March 22, and then we're going back up 554 in 23 and 831. So therefore, I think that's a great stat. And you could use these stats at social media. Did you know that there are 70% more houses for sale in Folkestone today than there were 2 years ago, 3 years ago? It's 2 years ago. I think that's quite interesting. Again, just looking at general stock levels, and they're going to be very close. Let's get rid of HomeWise because, as I said, we're double counting. So Miles and Bar, let's go and have a look. Their stock levels, but again, it's all about sales. Are down, Burn Up and Able, up and down, Reeds Rains, Wards. It's whether you can sell them or not. Andrew and Co, Browns. Let's go back and have a look at the upper quartile. So let's just see. So the average is 304 with 10,000. So we'll go and look at the upper quartile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking upper quartile or upper quintile, which is the top 20%. Let's just have a look. So I'm looking for around 2,000. So let's have a look. Here we go. Not many high price properties here.
No.
Okay. Now, isn't that interesting? The upper quartile kicks in at 400,000. Wow. Wow. Okay, I tell you what, let's go 600,000. There's not many properties here, but let's see who the mummy and daddy agents are on this one. And Miles and Bar, look at number 1, but there's not much between them all.
They've jumped up, number 3, Lang Bennett Estate. They've jumped up from what, 8 probably 8 or 9, maybe even a bit further down. They've jumped up there.
But again, we're not talking huge numbers here, are we?
No.
Again, yeah, so that's interesting. There could be a potential. I don't know what the posh property market in Folkestone's like. Doesn't look that huge. But what I have noticed is this: is if you do ever want to do that, then there's not many locations in the UK where you have the number one agent also being the number one agent in the posh region. Twice. We've been doing this show now for nearly 18 months. So again, let's just let's just look at stock levels in that posh range. We'll just do the price band again. There we go. So you can see quite clearly see here that the stock levels of properties of 600 grand more. Again, we'll do April. In April there were 41, and now there's 100. So again, data that you can use this data if you're trying to get a homeowner to be realistic with the pricing. You can say, Mrs. Miggins, Mr. Miggins, there are twice as many. There's 2.5 times more houses for sale today as there were. So again, I think that's really interesting stuff. Right, we'll just move on and I'll keep going. You just keep jumping in if you see anything.
Yeah.
So interestingly here, this is the number of new instructions on a weekly basis in Folkestone. And you can, it's just the general trends. We looked at the numbers, but this is a weekly trend, and then this is the sales trend. And what you could actually do is you can download these and you could put them both on the same and just get a general trend of when the listings come and when the when the sales agreed come.
Yeah, because I always assumed, I don't know if this is whether the data is actually backing this up or not, but I always assumed that places near the seaside, when the sun starts coming out, you'd end up selling more stock because the sun's out, everyone wants to be by the sea. And I don't know whether that data is telling us that or not. Maybe that is just a
Let's have a look. Let's go. And let's just change the price. So again, that's not telling us much, but so therefore what I'm going to do is this. On a weekly, let's have a look. So I'm going to go weekly on these stats. Okay, so if you actually look, so if that's where, so I'm looking at here, sale agreed. So that's Jan. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, it actually goes down in the summer.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Although again,
September's usually still quite nice.
True, but again, is Folkestone the sort of place that people retire to, as opposed to Herne Bay or Whitstable or Cromer or Norfolk or Brighton or Eastbourne? It's very much a working town. It has the port as well. So I'm not sure that people, again, ladies and gentlemen from Folkestone, prove me wrong, but interestingly, let's just have a quick look at this. This is trending back to 1919. The red line is the average asking price of properties for sale, and the green line is the average asking prices of properties that went sale agreed. Now, what I will state, that we don't know what they sold for, but what we do know is this: Hamptons produce a report and have done for an awful long time, and they actually say that the average gap between sale agreed and asking price on sale agreed is always between 1% and 2%, and hardly ever changes unless it was 2021. So we can take, it's slightly higher than what they actually sell for, but everything's lifted up like the tide. And you can see, I just found that quite interesting. Let's just go monthly, because I think that will just make these figures. Does it change that? Don't think it does, but you can get a flavor of what's happening. We'll just see what else. There's some other data on here which could be of interest. So isn't that interesting that the number, so this is new instructions for hybrid agents. So hybrid agents are either online or self-employed. So this would cover you as well, because you are what's called, a self-employed hybrid agent. And you see here that the percentages of new instructions from that type of agent is growing. So you can see, okay. And then in terms of the properties exchanging, you can quite clearly see that those are growing as well. So ladies and gentlemen of Folkestone who are more traditional high street agents, hybrid agents are growing. Conversions, At the moment, as I said, we'll come on to that figure in a second. Fall through rates again at 22.8, which is very similar to what the national figure was.
Yeah.
And on average, it's taking 56 days to get from new instruction to sale agreed, and 131 days from sale agreed to completion. And again, this is just telling us here, and again, we're getting very geeky now. Some of you might go, might not want or appreciate this. This is telling you what's happening to the properties. So that was the 654 properties that were available at the start of the year, at the start of the month of March, and then what actually ended up to them. And you can see what percentage, if you hover over it, that is what's happened to them. So that's available stock. Also, you've got new on the markets as well, which are adding to that. So again, it depends how geeky you are and how much data you want, but you can use this to your advantage. Okay.
I think for me, sticking on the positive side, just quickly, Chris, the fall through percentages, 22%, that's what we were talking about earlier, right, as being the current national average. But the average for March in 2023 was 22%. So quite clearly, and that's showing a different picture here, right? So quite clearly, the people of Folkestone are starting to feel a lot more positive. The difference between this time last year and where they're at now is a much bigger extreme than what we've seen, on the average across the UK. So I think that tells a really positive story.
Indeed. And again, just to share, this is the data. Out of the 407, I've just spotted this. This is the first time I've shown this on the show. But out of the 473 properties that were in estate agents' pipeline on the 1st of March, 117 of them exchanged contracts, whilst 341 of them, of the original ones that were still in the pipeline. Okay, again, interesting stuff. Right, let's move on. Okay, so there's a lot of data in here, ladies and gentlemen, and I think it's important that we show you what is particularly good. Okay, so Alice, I want you to look at fall throughs and price changes. I'll come to you in a second. And you just while I just babble on about this fascinating information. Right, then here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So there is some absolute gold in this data for some estate agents that you can blow your competition out of the water to prove that you are worth a higher fee. It is as simple as that, okay? But like most things, you can't, it's a bit like my missus loves the Aussie gold hunters or opal hunters, and she, they've got to dig out thousands of tons of clay on stone to get a tiny little opal. There is some opals in here which are just gold, which most agents would miss, okay? But let me share with you, ladies and gentlemen, where the gold is, okay? Most agents focus on new instructions. So that's this column here, new instruction market share, sale agreed numbers. This is between the 10th of the 4th, 23 and the 9th of the 4th, 24. So we're just focusing on this, and, pardon the pun, the ones at the top, agents tend to wave their willies and things like that, or whatever people wave. And, look at we're the biggest, look at our market share, we're brilliant. I'm not into all of that. The true gold is in these four columns here, ladies and gentlemen. If you recall earlier on in the show, I said a property can only leave an estate agent's books for two reasons. She either exchanges or she withdraws. If the sale falls through, it's still in your ecosystem. This is the exhaust. And what we're saying is this: Miles and Bar so you add these two numbers together, 158 and 89, which makes 247. Okay, so of the 247 properties that have left Miles and Bar books in the last 12 months, they have exchanged on 158 properties. So we add those two numbers up. That's what's left your estate agency, 158 and 89. Add the two together, and they've exchanged on 63.97. This is the magic, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here we go. Burnup and Abel, 60.1. Reeds and Rains, 53. Wards, 46. Bairstow Eves, 45. They're a franchise. Martin & Co, 56. Browns, Andrew & Co, 71. Huge round of applause for that.
Massive.
So if I was Andrew & Co and going up against Bairstow Eves, I could say, Mrs. Miggins, you have a 7 in 10 chance of moving home with me whilst with agent X, you have a 4.5 times chance of moving. This is powerful data. And if anyone has any issues with this data, take it up with 20EA, but they are the gold standard when it comes to, okay, because they don't just scrape Rightmove and portals. They actually get their data from bless you.
Thank you.
They get their data from the solicitors, so they know exactly which solicitors are exchanging contracts on which properties, because they are part of the 20 CI group and they do data for solicitors as well. So they know what's exchanging and they know what, you know, and this is very, very powerful stuff. The average estate agent in the last year in Folkestone has exchanged contracts on 49.68% of homes. But there's agents in here that are doing a lot more than that and a lot less. And this is your first piece of gold, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's just go and move on. This just talks about market share in the last 12 months compared to the market share the previous month. So you can see Bear Stearns are growing. So this is March 23 to March 24 versus March 22 versus March 23. So again, we can have a look at those. Can have a look at those, ladies and gentlemen. What's your thought? Anything screaming at you with fall through rates or price changes from agents?
Yeah, I mean, all the numbers just link up together, don't they? In terms of, you can see the reason why Andrews and Co are doing so well with their exchange percentage. You know, the fall through rate is so low, so they're setting up the deals well. Maybe they've got the deposit that they put down. Who knows, Chris?
Who knows?
But also as well, it all links to that price change part as well. You can see really here who's maybe going in and being extremely toppy on price. That links to the exchange percentage. You know, exchange percentage.
In the next screen, we're going to see who's overvaluing. So shall we see if there's?
I think I can make a prediction on who's overvaluing based on this.
Right. Well, let's go and have a look. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Omni Valuations and Price to Achieve screen. There is gold here telling you. The art is to decipher the data. That's what let me share with you this, okay? So what happens is this. So we're looking at the last 12 months, and Miles and Bar in the last 12 months have put onto the market 263 properties, and Burnup enabled 258, right? And what's happened is 20EA have gone and done an automated valuation figure, like a Valpal figure, others are available on all of your listings, all right? And then looked at what you actually put the house on the market for. So therefore, Miles and Bar, on average, put their properties on the market for 3.41% above what they think the house is worth. Now you're going to say, well, AVM models, they're rubbish. Yeah, they might be rubbish, but everything's rubbish and it's all relative, okay?
Yeah.
And the same model to the same properties, okay? Doesn't matter which agent's using it, okay? Burnup enabled at 1.96, Wards at 5.29. So again, and oh, look at this. You didn't put this. Andrew and Co are putting it on. Okay.
There we go. Links back to that last screen, Chris. If you go back,
let's go back.
Have a look at, you know, who's overvaluing. That links to that exchange percentage there, right? Look how low that exchange percentage is in comparison to the person that's overvaluing a lot, and links to the price change percentage as well, obviously on the right. So yeah, it's what I predicted in my head.
Interestingly, Miles and Bar, whilst they are overvaluing, they are still getting them sold because, you know, 63% are actually getting sold. So that shows to me that Miles and Bar are probably cooking the overvalue, not as much as their competitors, but it's still a full-on figure, and it's certainly nowhere near the Wards at 5.29. That's quite juicy, that one, boys and girls. But it looks like they're getting their prices down. And look, they're working their stock. There's nothing wrong with overvaluing if you can get them down quickly, okay?
I think I agree with that if you do it. Yeah, if you do it to begin with. It would be interesting to see the time the time to exchange or the time to sell.
Well, we have that information.
Oh, you have that as
There
well.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You're loving this.
I
Right.
am.
Okay, so here we go. So that's the overvaluing column. We now look at what price did you achieve for the property from your original asking price. Okay. So Miles and Bar on average overvalued by 3.41%. And therefore, they're on average from the original asking price, took on average 7.2% off to when it actually sold. Okay. Whilst Burnip and Apple at 6.34, Reed's Raids at 3.89, Ward's 8.65, Bairstow Eves 5.36, Andrew and Co 1.32, Brown's 2.2, Martin and Co 4.28, Lang Bennett's 0.79. Now, percentages do tend, a lot of percentages go over people's heads. They don't like them. I'm making sweeping statements here, but estate agents tend to be more people orientated as opposed to statisticians. So therefore, what happens is this, and this is where the true magic happens, is this. If everyone put on the same £350,000 house, that's worth what 20EA thinks it's worth, okay? What would it actually sell for, okay? And on average, Miles and Bar would achieve 335%, which is 1.97% below the Folkestone average. Burnip and Able would sell a £350,000 house for 334, which is 8,300 below the average. Whilst look at Reed's Rains, they would get 345,000 for the same house. And look at Andrew and Co, which are 345 as well. Brown's at 346, and Lang Bennett 358. Well done, guys. So what we're looking at here is this: is that if I was Andrew and Co, or I was Brown's or Martin and Co, I can say, here we go. Let's compare Brown's against Ward's. We're not picking on. We're just using this. Mrs. Nichols, here is proof that I will get you £10,000 more for your home than the other agent. Independent data. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see why I am a fanboy of this data, that you can take this data into the property using the data from the 20EA Insights platform and say, not only will I sell your house quicker with a greater chance of selling, and I'll get you 10 grand more. And here's the proof. I mean, this is powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. The magic thing is, are you using this data for your advantage? Any thoughts on this before we go and look at how quickly these boys and girls are selling houses?
No, just shout out to Andrews and Co.
And here we go. Right then. So we said, didn't we? Let's have a quick look. Miles and Bar, how quickly are they selling their homes? And they are taking, on average, 72 days to find a buyer. New instruction to sold subject to contract. Lang Bennett, 104 days. Andrew and Co, 48. There you go. And then we look at how good. So again, the average is, as I said, is 70 days. Let's just have a quick look. Andrew and Co are taking 113 days from sale agreed to completion. And the average looks pretty similar. So that is 103 days with Browns, although I think the magic thing is some agents hold back instructing solicitors until, say, survey's done or something like that. So you've got to look at the total number. But to compare, Andrew and Co take on average 162 days from new instruction, that's NI, to completion, whilst Ward's 234 days. So again, if I was someone wanting a quicker sale, you could use this data and say, I'm not saying this, independent people are, look, have a look at this data. Yeah. And Miles and Bar and Boards, you're part of a group. Your head office will have more than likely have this bit of kit. Ring your area manager up and say, give me. Okay. And if you're independent, you can use, as I said. Right. Final things. Let's look at the lettings data. Okay. And let's just have, this is going to blow your mind. Here we go. You ready? I know what's going to happen. I haven't looked at these stats, but here we go. Look at open rent. From 2 or 3% of rental properties coming on the market in 2019, 4% here of the market, and now over 20% of properties in Folkestone are now through open rent. Nationally, she's gone from 4 to 12. So you can see here that the landlords are still out there, but an awful lot of them have switched over to open rent. They've not sold up. And what is particularly interesting is, as I said, I write articles about property markets, is the actual number of landlords setting up has increased by about 40% compared to the long-term 7-year average. And the number of landlords setting up has gone up. The number of by 40%. The number of landlords buying is 20% down. So you think, oh my word, end of the world, doom-mongery stuff. No, there was always more buying than selling. So actually, still today, more properties are still being bought by landlords than what's actually selling. It's not there. It's close. And the net effect used to be that that's why the buy-to-let market has been growing since 2000. It's actually been growing since 1992, 93. But what I'm trying to say is, you can look at stats and think 40% upsell are selling more, 20% drop buying, end of the world, huge massive gap. No, there's still more landlords net effect buying. The magic thing is, you agents are not proving your worth. That's hard work to say, but you aren't. If all you're doing is just collecting the rent and ringing them up when there's a problem, then you're not worth your 10%. What are you doing? Are you sitting down with your landlords and actually physically going through their portfolio and finding out what properties they've got and how it's doing investment advice, or are you just ringing people up with problems? Just an idea there. Right, let's go and have a look. So Martin and Co. Again, these are new instructions. A lot of them are going to be old stock. There's not much growth here. So it's just showing you who is the agent of choice. Miles and Bar, Ald and Co. We haven't seen them before. They seem to be growing. Well done, guys. Reeds Rains, Fell Reynolds. We haven't seen you before. Smith, Woolley and Perry. Okay. Bairstow Eaves, Wards. Let's go. Andrew and Co. Because we're a bit fanboys there. Fanboys and Co. Okay. That's all good stuff. Yeah, I mean, just shows you. I tell you what, we will just have a look at it. I think this is important, is stock that's on the market. So let's go and have a look at March's figures. So interestingly, in March, there were an average 260 properties up for rent in March 2019. She went down to 145. But isn't that interesting? You would have said there should be fewer rental properties available, but there's more than 2021. Because on average 200. Now that does break the the national trend, but there are more rental properties. Okay, there's not as much as there was last year at 238 on average, but there is still more than 2021. Isn't that interesting? Fascinating.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know the peculiarities of the Folkestone property. No. I mean, I can normally find out within a couple of hours the idiosyncrasies of a town.
Yeah.
What I do know is this, and we'll leave the stats there, is that seaside towns are peculiar beasts when it comes to property markets. And as you said earlier on, quite often, especially your Cromers and your Eastbournes, they are very, very seasonal. But Folkestone is not a sort of place that you retire to, because it's a working place. I don't know. I really don't know. We could find out. But
yeah, I think we should. We'll go away and find out, and maybe put it in a comment.
What we'll do is I normally ring all the agents up in Folkestone just to tell them that this is coming out, so we can see if we can get some information, or get them to give me a call and find out.
See if we can get Andrews and Co to give us a quote.
Indeed. Okay, so that's the end of the Folkestone section, Alice, and I just wanted to let you know that you have passed your test and you will be coming back. There was never any doubt, but I just wanted to put a smile on your face and tell the public that the boys and girls watching this that you've passed your test. You did have an excellent job. What's your final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, look, we've been very positive on this call, which I think is fair and should be deserved. You know, we've seen a couple of dips, and we're not just coming on here and making excuses. I think we're really confident that this is to be expected. I think the advice out there to agents is next quarter is going to be a really, really important one to get as much of that stock under offer, make hay while the sun is shining, and therefore before you come into the summer months and potentially that election we've spoken about, the E word, that's coming towards the end of the year. I think, you know, be giving your clients the right advice. Let's see an increase in the number of net sales agreed in Q2.
And interestingly, if you look at the effect of general elections and what they have on the property market, you can kind of wave goodbye to the 4 weeks that are. But I mean, if it's going to be happening like at the end of the year, then
I think so.
we're on a downward trend anyway.
Yeah.
If we have the suspected Labour landslide, again, they're not saying anything that's spooking people at the moment, then we should have that. It should return to a net balance after a few months. I really do want you, ladies and gentlemen, when it does come out, to look at the Voice of the Agent survey by Simon Ledbetter. It should be out at a bookstore near you. No, it should be out probably in about a month, 2-3 weeks time. It's a 150-page document, but don't worry, you don't have to read the whole lot. There will be certain aspects of it, you know, bite-sized pieces, but there are some amazing data in there. And again, if we are local property experts, if you know how people think and act and how they make the choice of how they choose an estate agent, then you're halfway there. So you have to do is apply that in your marketing. Alice, you've been absolutely exceptional. Thank you very much. We'll get you back
Thank you, Chris.
Couple of months' time. But more importantly, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your continued support on the UK Property Market Stat Show. If you've got any locations that you particularly want us to look at, I can't guarantee I'll get them, but you know, if you spot something and I can do it, I will do it on that particular town. But thank you for your time today, and I'll see you next week on week 15 of the UK Property Market Stat Show. Just before I go, if you get at the end of this video, there's a little video, and then at the end, just after that, there is a hyperlink which sends you to the UK Stat Show YouTube link, the playlist, and if you save that, you'll get the Stat Show 24 hours in advance before it goes live on a Friday, or up to 24 hours in advance if it goes on there. But you have to save that and refresh it. Check that out on a Thursday afternoon, and you should normally be able to see the show there waiting for you. But Alice, thanks again for your time. You've been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for watching. See you now.
Bye.